Clement, that's for sure.
Yeah, we still have SEM9, you know, repping the Malaysian tiger here. This is really paying homage to the Kuala Lumpur Hunters, who also had a tiger in their emblem. So just want to point that out. It's great when you see tradition being passed on. And, you know, I think they have that tradition of being absolutely ferocious hunters. These guys are trying to snowball the early game with a very interesting build here. We actually have a press the attack coming out from the Viego just for their burst damage. So they're very much focused on killing Bay over and over again. Let's see if they succeed.
Yeah, well, Bay's going to want to have that flash handy. No inbuilt escapes unless you count Scat of the Week. And I am excited, you know. Going to be going with those Hunter Instincts, the Eye of the Tiger. It is, of course, the Year of the Tiger, as you mentioned. So happy Lunar New Year to everybody who celebrates. I'm excited to see if SEM9 can ride this aggressive wave to a win. If they go 1-1 this week, like I said, that would be huge. Didn't matter who they got the win against. It would be a good statement coming out because we didn't really necessarily know what to expect from this squad. The two carries, very new unknowns. It's hard to make a big debut on the stage with a lot of talent at this top level. We'll see if they can do it here today as we kick things off.
And we do see some instant adaptations from Game 1. SEM9 actually warding up their Raptors this time to make sure their jungle pathing isn't going to be exposed, and Arashi can make way to that bottom lane. Both of the junglers, as we expected, nothing really much to see in the Gragas versus Ornn matchup, so are going to be pathing into the bot side. As for the bot lane, we do expect the Caitlyn to be able to shove out with the Peacemaker just a little bit easier. So it will be some fights going over onto the bottom lane scuttle.
Ooh, Kaiwing really stretched that dredge line. I was about to say, Klax and Philia have the advantage of having literally just played against this matchup, but they are off to just as rough of a start.
Yeah, losing half of the HP right there. Very unfortunate for them. A lot of free damage being done by Unified as he's pushing the wave and also dealing damage to the bottom side. So things not going as expected right here. And oh no, another hook.
Oh dear. Oh, that's first blood. Unified. Well, that's kind of the Unified we expected to see. A real rough start for SEM9's bot side.
Yeah, you know, the Ignite goes down. Heal was saved by Klax, which in this case was probably the correct move. He was going to die anyway. And
Lazar's getting shoved in too. Oh dear.
Well, this looks a lot like Game 1.
So far, we're ticking all the boxes. The only difference is we're not waiting for a Gwen to start manhandling topside. But yeah, this Arashi, well, better hurry up and get to 6, buddy.
Yeah, not what we wanted to see for an explosive game right here. You know, let's see what Arashi can do. I think it's pretty much, once again, everything on his shoulders. He has to find that stun. And, you know, we should talk a little bit about press the attack versus Conquerors. In a solo duel, if you ever find yourself in a position versus Xin Zhao, then Conquerors is going to do a lot more damage. I think it's a better rune in teamfights as well, as you do have more sustainability. But for the PTA, you get that sudden burst of the proc and also the exposure damage that grants you a 12% increase from your laner. So it's much more of a just trying to burst down mid laners as opposed to the more standard rune setup. So we'll see if Arashi can get to use it this time with Lazar, or if he's going to have a rough laning phase the entire way through.
Yeah, we're going to have to see here. To his credit, Lazar has managed to stay deathless and to at least catch back up on some of the farm, even though he was shoved out. You know, definitely expecting to try and make some of these trades, but you can see some of the experience difference coming to play here as the top laners will just bang heads a little bit here. I wouldn't expect a solo kill up top, but you never know. I know we talk about Hanabi being a weak side top laner, but man, I watched this guy at Worlds and I was like, whoa, Hanabi, okay. Started fanning myself, man. That was hot.
That's the Hanabi thing. Like, he's a weak side top laner that actually loves to play fighters. He said this himself in interviews. He much prefers being given fighters. This game, though, I think they're trying to test out the new PSG identity by just playing Unified on a hyper carry. But he's still out-trading Shiromine very well up into the top lane. I love those trades being thrown back and forth. They're actually quite fun to see. These just tank trades and the footsies being thrown in there by Hanabi. Both of them do seem like they're going to be going for the Fimbulwinter. I've seen this across the board in tanks. It's just free scaling, so everyone gets it.
I mean, they basically have the same job, right? You want to get in there, you want to be the big engage champion that can set up the knockups, that can set up the separation of the enemy team when you get to those 5v5s. It was all about fighting fire with fire. We'll see, now that Clayx and Philly have kind of stabilized just a little bit, yeah, they're getting out-traded. If they can maybe use that Caitlyn range, if you can set up like a trap combo, Arashi is here, but Kaiwing, oh man, he didn't quite see him until the end, and now you got Unified actually isolated, but unfortunately, the rest of the cavalry arrived anyways.
Yeah, that was a ballsy move from Arashi to try and separate Kaiwing from Unified and go directly for the AD carry, but unfortunately for him, there was backup in the Xin Zhao. Juhan was waiting right there, and once SEM9 saw that, they knew they had to back off. There was no real chance to win that 3v3. And meantime, in the mid lane, there's a flash.
Oh dear, Lazar is very dead.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't see how that one got set up right there, but there was a deep dive. Juhan going to come and escort Bay back to lane. Meanwhile, we got a 2v3 down bottom. Trap's going to go down. Arashi actually getting rooted a little low on the health bar. Does not have 6 yet. And there's no way they could fight that. So it's a back away 2-0 now on the kill score for PSG Talon.
Imagine being Lazar in your debut against one of the 2 strongest teams in the PCS. Things have just not been going well for him. And, you know, I think this really defies the purpose of that PTA Viego that we're seeing here. There has been no sort of burst potential coming in from either Lazar Zoe or his LeBlanc so far.
Yeah, and it does seem like it's a bit of an experience difference right now. There's the Scout of the Week, it lands. Bay is obviously not following this in, a little low on mana, but how does this happen? Lazar goes sniffing for trouble, it seems.
Bay gets the early level 6 here, so he does have the ultimate. Lazar should be taking the safe way back to lane, but he walks directly in front of Bay, uses his W, and that's just the go sign for Bay. He knows that there's nothing stopping him, and he doesn't even land a stun. He just throws out the ultimate for the kill there. Very unfortunate. Lazar could have played that a lot safer.
Textbook definition of a rookie mistake there, Clement. Unfortunate for the SEM9 mid lane. He is right back to it. I was calling him deathless earlier, and, well, not anymore. Kaiwing now comes to the mid and claims his lane tax, as the blue buff will get given over to Bay. But PSG, you know, they're finding the edges, they're finding the advantages, but
it's not taxing if the laner doesn't lose anything, okay? So that's just pure gain for everyone.
He got a tax return. You know, he's doing okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing I want to see the IRS for.
Well, it seems like Bay's getting the same thing as well. But yeah, big on the up and up for the CS. 20 minions over Lazar right now. And it looks like they're going to try to bring a bit of a squad in to get Bay, but he's still in a pretty safe position. Juhan's here. No flash, no problem. Actually gets the stun off onto Philia. And here comes Kaiwing to make this a 3v3. Lazar going to be forced to distort away. And Dredgeline's going to pull him right back in. The flash, Crescent Guard, Lazar limping back, as the Mimic is the only thing that keeps him from dying there.
Yeah, again, I think on most of these Herald plays, we do see SEM9 just being a little bit hesitant. If you can see, they roamed their support up. Philia went into the mid lane, but Caitlyn stayed by. So it ended up just being a 3v3 in the mid anyway, and I feel like if you're going to do this play, you have to be willing to just scrap your bot lane chances and go all in. Like,
I mean, you're already losing against a Jinx as Caitlyn. I feel like it doesn't matter what season it is. That's probably the indicator you should maybe not keep laning.
Yeah, I feel like going for a full aggressive play here. Like, they actually had the position a little bit earlier, but without the AD carry there, it's, you know, they couldn't really do much. So I felt like this play was just kind of scuffed, and once again, PSG are able to profit off both sides. They win the skirmish quite handedly, and they also get the Herald.
Yeah, not to mention, also the Dragon was picked up a little bit earlier on as well. I hadn't even mentioned that one because that was just kind of free in the rotation. Does mean that the Cloud comes up a little sooner, which also could mean we get a spicy Rift change-up in a bit. Clayx pushing forward to try and get a little bit of chip damage. Don't think he'll be able to secure a plate here. Philia, Lazar, and Arashi going in for a red buff play, and this is going to get sniffed out by Kaiwing and Juhan pretty quickly. And I don't know about this one. Even Unified's coming through, and that's the flash double over the wall right now. Unified going to flash it as well, and all of a sudden, they thought they were safe. But there is no escape from this deadly trio of PSG Talon. Lazar getting stunned by the Scout of the Week for a little assist. Bay picks up a kill for his trouble, and Philia is out in no man's land, hoping for the stealth back, but I think he's just going to have to take the L here. Gets the execution at least.
Well, that's a small win for SEM9, and you have to be looking for those. I felt like the idea there was actually quite decent, but unfortunately, as I think we were going to see in the replay, the first one to fall here ended up being Arashi. So great target selection coming in from PSG. What SEM9 were banking on was that, Bay was going to be a little bit late in this rotation. They could get that first takedown and then snowball with the Viego to find multiple kills, but unfortunately PSG read this play super well. They focused down the Viego first, there is no reset potential whatsoever, and then Bay lands the crowd control to close the trap. So good idea, you have to look for those risky comeback plays, but unfortunately the execution was on PSG's side.
Yeah, so that does extend the gold lead a little bit here further now as we crest the 11-minute mark in just a few seconds. So Arashi still looking for something, an edge for his team. Hasn't had quite the same impact as of yet as he did on the Lee Sin in game number 1. They're going to try to set this dive up. Unified is isolated for the time being, but they have a small window to close, and they don't have the support here. It looks like they're not going to opt to take it just yet, especially knowing that Kaiwing and Bay should be close behind. Juhan still hasn't dropped that Rift Herald. You can bet your bottom dollar they'd be looking to do it bot side if they can collapse on this, and it seems like that's the game plan.
Yeah, it's going to be so hard for Lazar to come over here. He has to walk into his own jungle, knowing full well that there could be multiple people waiting for him there. I do think PSG are just going to go for the standard play rather than do anything risky. Oh, Arashi is spotted out. It's unlucky for him.
Hit him with the sad B. He knows. He really tried.
They could just push this in. I don't think they have to do anything crazy for this. It's just, push in and go straight for Drake.
It's a lot of time they're spending just running away and kind of being herded into this one right now. The Flame Chompers go down. Arashi gets stopped, pulled in, and 1-2. How do you do? Unified picking up a quick kill, and they just go all in on the collapse. It looks so easy for PSG. An insult to injury. Unified picks up 2. Lazar tries to be the hero as he takes out Juhan, but Unified's getting excited. There's the juke. Lazar, can he make it out alive? No, he cannot, as Kaiwing pulls him back and spoon feeds his AD carry for a third.
Oh, PSG are just way too good with the target selection and the crowd control. On top of that, they also get a TP from the top lane. Oh, that is just absolute domination, man. If we look at the replay, it all really started with Arashi. I think he actually stepped back into the Flame Chomper. I think he was behind the Flame Chomper at first. Oh no, that was such a good Flame Chomper. It really forced Arashi to flash that one. And he wasn't willing to pull the trigger right off the bat. And we see Kaiwing landing 2 dredge lines back to back here. Perfect tanking. The only consolation prize is Lazar does find a kill onto Juhan, but he expended a lot for that. Both charges of Distort used, so he has nowhere to go and just dies to Kaiwing as he walks right back and tanks another tower.
Yeah, Kaiwing did a great job actually of being just like he was walking away from that one, realized, okay, well I guess I'm gonna have to try and cut off the escape route. Does exactly what he needs to, and so the lead extends pretty heftily here, and so much gold in Unified's pocket with all those kills right over to him as they can just chase Lazar away. They have Shelly going for another charge here in the inner, and there's nothing that LeBlanc can do about it. They're just going to get this tower easily.
Yeah, that amount of gold going over to Jinx is not something you want to see. It's 2 items by 15 minutes, and they're going for more. Oh, unfortunately, Bay doesn't catch that one. That was a golden opportunity. But, at this point, PSG don't really need it. They're just going to turn straight back for Drake.
They're very far ahead, and this is an interesting game for PSG because we were talking a lot about how, maybe this is a team that should kind of really move themselves into that 4-1 style, put a lot on Hanabi instead. But they're really kind of going for this team fight style with Unified on a hyper carry that does seem to suit the meta, even if they have a very different set of players. Baze had a good game on Not Rise, which I am loving, because those first 3 games did leave a few things to be desired from him. I think Juhan had a much better debut so far, but everything is coming up PSG in this one. So fans of this squad, and there are many of them, will be happy with this performance so far.
Yeah, very smooth game coming in from them. We're all glad that we don't have to see another tank rise being played again. I will say, though, one thing I'm proud about the PCS for is we have not picked a Corgi game. That is something that we should all celebrate.
So you're happy about this. I know Nightstar is tearing his hair out over it. There is clearly a disagreement in the Colorcaster camp. You want to expand on that a bit?
I will just say, I feel like Corki just slows games down so much. He's the ultimate I do nothing in laning phase champion. I just scale to 6, CS with rockets, and then win late game.
He's pretty good at TFT, though. Trying that new set.
That's true. You know, Kaiwing overstepping just a little. That was good class
by
SEM9 with the Turbo Chem tank.
Yeah, I mean, SEM9 looking for an opportunity, right? They're trying to throw their weight around in the mid. The problem is now they're losing out on the side lanes because you can just have Hanabi slow pushing in. They're showing here, and you're starting to see that this Caitlyn pick just hasn't really done that much for him. You can lay down the traps and try to even the battlefield out a bit, but just not doing enough, and there goes the ultimate. Felia's going to get caught here. In goes Juhan to try and hold the line. The rocket Arashi does pick up his opposite number there, but it just is not enough to follow through, and even Hanabi comes in from downtown on the teleport, and the rest of SEM9 running for the hills. Clement nowhere to go right now. The double kill for Bay, and Unified bringing up the rear to clear the turrets. They get everything on the PSG side.
Yeah, SEM9 needed to run for the hills as soon as that TP was started. You can't get away from an Ornn when you're funneling yourself up a ramp. I feel like that was the strategical mistake right there. They kind of lingered around the play a little bit too long, and you know, just watch this again. They need to run as soon as the TP was out. They get caught by Kaiwing. It's a good attempt by PlayX to kind of force down the ramp, but they aren't able to get away from the Ornn Horn. Unified across the wall, completely untouched, just dishing out damage. And Arashi with the flash, not able to escape. PlayX just doesn't have the damage right now. This is the thing about Caitlyn. She really does need a couple more items there with the crit build. And unfortunately, PlayX doesn't even get away from the dredge line after the flash. So just beautiful play all around from PSG. I felt like they knew their teamfight conditions a lot better than SEM9. And SEM9, despite grouping first, did not get much out of it.
No, and I think Philia really tried to kind of pop them off on the split, too. Like, he separated from the team when that ultimate came through, and then, you know, the team kind of decides to go back in for round 2 and just does not a whole lot for them. PlayX doesn't have a lot of damage, and also not a lot of health, as you're seeing. The Rocket's gonna finish the job. Oh, man. I think I saw something like that in the hit Netflix show Arcane right now, as Rift Herald's gonna get popped down into the mid lane. The rest of the team can't even get to their own darn tower here, Clement. They're trying to fight, but they just don't have the damage as the Call of the Forge God comes a swinging left to right, and it is just blue in the kill feed across the board at 17.5 minutes.
Perfect ace coming from PSG, and we could be having the quickest game so far in the PCS.
Shelly's still in this.
Yeah, like, she's not going to survive. Oh, she will survive.
I don't know. Are we going to get a dancing Shelly this game?
Are we going to get 2 dancing Shellys in 2 weeks of the PCS? That would be
I would love that. Clay, actually, leave it alone. No. Oh. Why do you do this? No, he had to get it off the tower, but SEM9, yeah, they just could not do a thing here. ClayX gets caught down the middle, and it's just rockets after rockets after rockets.
That's just not fair. The red buff on Unified makes all the difference. And watch this ultimate from Kaiwing. He actually tags a 4-man here. Oh, excuse me, just the 3-man, but that's good enough. Everyone is knocked up. It gives Unified enough time to reposition, and he's pretty much untouched. Has to burn the flash right here, but stays alive, pick up all the kills. That's a lot of extra attack speed on the Jinx, and they just roll through the enemy team. Let's watch the damage numbers right there.
I know, calling that a fight. Calling that a team fight might be a little disingenuous there, but that's all the same. Unified has had an absolute pop-off game. He was fed the kills exactly as he needed to from Kaiwing early on. He did what he needed to in the positioning, stayed in the back. Nobody could dive him, and it's just... I mean, if you're the Jinx in this situation, you're having a blast. This is like the perfect game situation for you.
Yeah, SEM9 had to run through so much crowd control crossfire. There was the Crescent Guard, Ornn Horn, Scatter the Weak, and you also have the ultimate. Barashi might be having his comeback play.
Hanabi's still tanky enough. The explosive cast does knock Juhan, unfortunately, right into Arashi. The damage difference is massive. Felia's going to try to come give some relief, but it doesn't matter. They're just going to get Shiromine out, and that's it. Poor Arashi, man.
We have an imposter amongst us. We have an imposter. Unfortunately for Arashi, he was ejected out into space. That was just sad to see for someone who's been working so hard for the team, but sometimes things just happen that way.
Yeah, I suppose so. 20 minutes in, PSG looking to close this one. Another scat of the week, and the rocket comes in, and Lazar almost gets taken out, or rather his clone does. All the same, it doesn't seem to matter right now as PSG are just muscling their way in, taking out not only the tower, but looking for more. The Jinx is running wild right now. Everyone's falling down in the health bars as they limp back to the fountains, and this base is owned by PSG Talon, as Arashi just cannot do a thing to save his team. Ace in the hole does absolutely nothing as Hanabi tanks it up here, and with the Nexus in the sights, this should be our fastest game, I would think. Bay comes up with a big kill for himself. Shiro's trying to tank through, but not going to happen here as they look to just clean it through. Lazar has to wave goodbye to his Nexus as PSG will take a win in their opening of Week 2.
You know, I was saying that PSG